Selamat pagi and welcome to Mama Bali, where I am just emerging from a 9-day Pachinkarma Ayurvedic detox over the solstice and full moon. And what an extraordinary deep dive and transformation on a personal and planetary level. As deep in that cave, there is a lot of weaving through the planetary pyramid system, the stone circles, the crystalline systems within the earth, our arcs and our cubes, and towards the end of it with the axis mundi of the planet itself. And Mama Bali on the Indonesian archipelago is one of the points on our planet where the main dragon lines meet. It is known as a purification center of our planet. So people come here both consciously and unconsciously to cleanse, to clear, to recalibrate, and to upgrade their systems into what's available to us now from the new Earth architecture. And it is a gift to be inviting you into the Cosmic Cafe with Yssah once again, as we have a tea chat between Bali and Mexico. And we were just exploring the ancient dragon that presented in land I've been called Te Kaitiaki Te Guardian on the far northeast coast of Aotearoa, New Zealand. And when this dragon awakened, it came in a frequency of one of the old ancient ones, older than any of the dragons I've met before now. And it feels as though we'll be meeting another one here in Bali, Indonesia, very soon. And it's been great to connect with Yssah, for she had codes from the origins and the source of these dragons in Gong Gong.
Thank you, beloved sister. Thank you for having me again in this coffee. Every time that we gather, a lot of information unfolds, and we feel in the commitment to bring this to the ones that are in resonance with this information and opening their existence to new pathways of creation. And so thank you, and thank you for everyone that will be watching this transmission. As you said, I'm currently in Mexico, related to the dragons, even though there is a kin, which is a glyph, related to the Mayan calendar, to say it somehow, and it's related to the dragon. We don't hear much about the dragons per se when we dive into the Mayan cosmology. Nevertheless, when we tune into the essence of that cosmology, we see the presence of Quetzalcoatl, which is the feathered serpent, a serpent that flies. And we can see the immediate connection to the dragons, and that everything comes together. Everything makes a little bit more sense. So now that's on one side. Also to mention one prophecy that predicts the return of Quetzalcoatl, which we can read into and translate in many forms. And as a unified consciousness, I perceive that it comes at all those different layers. That when we talk about the return of Quetzalcoatl as this dragon consciousness, we can consider it as a human embodiment, as a consciousness embodiment in many layers. And that is settling huge point of transcendence in humanity, at least here in Mexico, mostly because what Mexican nation is going through right now as a all this social transformation. But anyway, that's other topic. But in relation to what you said of Gong Gong, um, here we have Quetzalcoatl, which has different forms of translating that name, which is feather serpent, or also some people related to um, the the embodied wisdom, also related to Kukulkan. And then we could also relate it from that point a little bit, we could relate it to the water, which brings us to Gong Gong, because Gong Gong is an exoplanet that it came to me about 2 years ago while I was in Egypt. I started doing all these configurations with the specific exoplanets, including Ceres, Serna, um, Gong Gong precisely, and many other planets that were pointing out to something bigger that is actually happening, or at least being uh, uh, it's coming to light, all the information about these exoplanets. In the case of Gong Gong, it's very related as a consciousness to the water dragons. Mm, we can say that it's a very subtle energy that brings in a lot of fertility, prosperity, growth, and the capability of holding the space for our emotions as the energy of emotion that they are, from a responsible space, not just firing them to our reality. It's just bringing all those waters and flowing through them in order to generate life, that fertility. So then there is this connection with the plasma and the fire, but I will talk about that later. Just to bring in the community in between dragons, you know.
Yeah, it is what it's doing, it's humanity are being called to mature. A maturity that requires responsibility of energy management. And as emotions are energy in motion, it's learning how to consciously channel these energies through the heart for conscious change, rather than projecting and deflecting and attacking to defend. That's child's play. We're asking to do our personal work so that we can show up and really take responsibility for what we're creating, and mastering how to utilize these elements of water, these elements of fire for creation, for conscious change.
Yes, yes. And now that you mentioned that fire, just while we were talking about this, it came to me that one of the biggest holes that dragons are putting in the table for us to feed and nourish from this feast of wisdom and interdimensional, multidimensional skills, is that when the fire that they emanate, we use it as plasma, then we're capable to connect with higher forms of unlimited energy within, through our dragon's DNA. You know, so there is this huge like invitation to use all that energy in motion, all those emotions, all those waters, and connect them in a very specific way with our biology, with specific points that are generating that plasma. to connect with not also the fire of the dragons that they are emanating as plasma, yet also as the emotions ourselves are emitting as the stars that we are, and alchemizing them as plasma, you know, continue to regenerate the primordial matrix that we are at now. And that would lead us to bringing the dragon's eggs that each one of the dragon's guardians are holding. You know, I don't know how you feel about that, the dragon's eggs.
Before we go there, as you were speaking about the water, fire, and the plasma, what I was seeing and experiencing is it's activating synapses between the different strands of DNA within our human structures as we go through that.
I'm focusing at this moment a lot with all this plasma tech. I call it that way because there are specific parts in the brain that hold the encoding of the mitochondria that is in its pristine state, with all the genes. And now our mitochondria have 37 active genes. The original number is 850. And there is a part in our brain vortex that connects to that primordial state of our mitochondria. And that leads to our dragon's DNA, to our dragon encoding. Because it's the founder, it's one of the founders. So it's there. It's in between the 850.
Yeah, and as you speak about it, I'm actually watching two software systems, if you like, that need to upgrade in frequency so that they can activate the circuitry of the realized, optimized, true avatar human vehicle that we're walking in. It's incredible to witness it. It's like two circuitry systems that are just waiting for the frequency match for them to be able to reconnect.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. How I see it is like the full basic capacities generating into this double torus in our brain, and then like the Nikola Tesla devices that start to emanate those plasma spheres and interconnecting to the interface of our molecular structure, therefore to our cells and all our DNA, all the dormant DNA activating.
And then we have our regenesis that is possible.
Yes. Wow. Yes. If we take a look, even you see, when we talk about Asia, it's the most common region connected or that have been holding to the dragon codes until now. And you can see that even their biological constitution, it's very like the way that they age is different, because the dragon's DNA, it's part of that regeneration skills, those regeneration skills, because their fire is their plasma. So they continue to regenerate themselves through the power of their fire.
Wow, this is so fascinating, particularly having the one in Aotearoa, New Zealand, that's awakened, the one in Bali that will soon awaken. And it feels like the next one will be. Oh no, there's a whole group of them, but they're very they're located around the Pacific Ring of Fire. Oh, I see. There's 12 of them, 12 specific ones of these dragons located around the Pacific Ring of Fire. We began in Aotearoa. We're now in Indonesia. And we're going to make our way around, all the way around to Antarctica. Interesting. I hadn't seen the others before. I was just feeling that we're going to Antarctica next, but it's not. It's working around the Pacific Ring of Fire.
Well, and now that we say fire, transmutation, plasma, all these alchemizing alchemical processes, remember that the other last gathering we were talking about these 12 portals that are related to very specific nodes in the earth, where at Atlantean times, pre-cataclysmic ones, we established these portals that would sustain, that were connecting to 12 wormholes, and they were redirecting to specific parts of the interstellar system, like Orion, of course, Sirius, and Aldebaran, and so forth, enhancing the stability in the pyramidal grid. When the cataclysm happened, all those 12 portals generated a torsion, and instead of bringing all those high frequencies, they started to a lot of low frequency, dense frequencies started to come through those portals. So now, related to the 12 dragons, is like, when you were saying this, is like each dragon is also guardian to each one of those 12 points in order to generate and that to hold the space for that torsion to happen again. And this is very related to the magnetic pulse shift, energetic pulse shift in the earth.
Yeah,
it's all about
body
sensing.
Koyopa confirmation for what we're unpacking here. It's really exciting. And I thought I was coming to Bali for a holy day. I just had to have a big cleanse and purification so I could level up my service.
And now
Wow.
that you mentioned that you're going there next week to with one of the dragons, like all these mirroring portals in the water will be funneling a lot of codes from one point to another in between the 12. You know, like as we were saying, a lot of dragons are already holding the space, yet there are like 12 main pillars in this ring of fire. And I remember that before recording this transmission, we were talking about Antarctica and how that the dragon there, like when it awakens, all the time there are happening timeline shifts. We know it. The thing is that how I perceive it is like through the cube, it will generate a huge vortex, like this huge vacuum force that will enable a lot of the distortion that has been going on in Antarctica to restore into the Hyperborean codes for them to arise. And in relation to Gong Gong and all of this, also how I was sharing is that even though there are many types of dragons and scales of consciousness within them, let's say that Gong Gong is where the founders that came to Earth, like the dragons, that's where they are. And the frequency of the water dragons in Gong Gong is the blueprint of what next will be igniting as well. You know, it's like within the DNA, there are also 12 types of dragon DNA, you know, like this is how I perceive it, you know, this is how I remember it. Within the very same dragon code encoding, there are 12. So let's say that Gong Gong is the founder that not as the blueprint per se solo, like only being Gong Gong, the founders in Gong Gong being the the blueprint, the dragon blueprint. But like this Gong Gong encoding is the one that nests the other 11. So now this brought up into what we are experiencing, like how our brothers and sisters that will be watching this transmission, how can they actually embody this information? How can they, you know, apply it to their daily life? And you said one point, which is fundamental, which is responsibility with emotions. And if, as there will be more and more emotions funneled, more and more and more, it will be pure plasma. It's not only the plasma coming from the sun, it's our capability to accelerate that energy, those waters, and compress it into our plasma sphere. Imagine, like instead of, you know, just yelling and screaming and, you know, like projecting and reflecting, and it's amplifying that energy, that emotion, those emotions into that point that before, you know, pulling them out, you just compress them into the sphere, into your plasma sphere, and then start to do all those regeneration processes.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because, you know, when I started my healing journey, it was very about feeling and expressing emotions out. But for quite some years now, the people I've been working with who are along on their journey and have connection to their physical, mental, and emotional bodies in a different way is I guide them into combusting the energy. Instead of going out, take it in, use sound, breath, and movement, combust it within the physical body to make more space for us, for them, for us to reside within our physical and energetic spheres. And interesting, when you spoke about the Hyperborean consciousness, my field expanded and solidified with that. It's like it gained more strength in that. So maybe you'd like to expand a little bit on that for us.
Well, for me, Hyperborea is the main stage that we could relate Antarctica to, you know, when all, for instance, feline species,
It's your cat just cleaned up.
Yes, exactly. He just landed. And they came to do all this genetic work, you know, not only with human DNA, with all kind of seeds, you know, all the plants, flowers, animals, like a lot of seeds that they were planted, and they were doing all this genetic uh, mm, work.
Say it, genetic modification is not something new on the planet. How it's being used that is important. The consciousness which it's creating.
Exactly. And I believe that something, well, more than believe, I remember that something happened there in between the feline race and the dragon race as founders. You know, that it took many years to reconcile that which happened in order for the DNA to be ready to weave again. Because yeah, and now that these two consciousnesses have let's say, now that the matrix that they created at some point generated an altered reality, and now those realities have come together. So it's just like saying, it's not the same, but it's just to say an example. Like, for instance, you have the primordial matrix and you have the artificial matrix. And the artificial matrix, the simulation, was created to give time to the primordial matrix to regenerate for what it went through all those cataclysms, and mostly the last one. So it's
Yeah,
it's
when you talk about it, what I'm seeing is it's not an integration of we're talking about feline and dragon. It's not an integration of the mammalian and reptilian brain, but it's a connection and communication between the mammalian and reptilian brain hemispheres, our left and right brain hemispheres. It brings them into unification, is what it does. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Thank you for saying that. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that, because it is. And now that we are talking about compression, like once the two hemispheres are aligned, you also talk about the axis mundi, which I recall we talk about that our last call, the importance to align our heart to the true north, because then it replicates into two vortexes, to Taurus, and then our portal in our thymus is opened, and then it leads us to our hemispheres, our brain, and then the connection, as you were saying, the in between our both hemispheres, representing also the reptilian brain and the mammalian brain. So yeah.
As you speak, yeah, it's emphasizing, I guess, why I put so much emphasis on our foundational process of our healing process and aligning of the bodies, because what we're wanting to connect to already exists. And to reconnect to it, it really means making physical and energetic space in our field and recalibrating into alignment. And it comes back on. There's nothing there's nothing new under our sun. It's all there waiting to be reconnected to the natural and organic harmonics of our operating systems with the operating systems of our planetary systems, solar, galactic, and universal systems exist.
Exactly.
And all we are doing is clearing out, emptying out what is not ourselves, so we can realign and recalibrate and reconnect and go play in what is.
Exactly. Yes, it is. It is. And the other day, I was having this amazing talk uh, with my partner, and we were acknowledging how subtle is the information that comes through the simulation program and that tries to weave in as if it was part of us, you know? And that actually, if we want to tune into, which is very ironic, because how I say it is, as they say that, or it is said that for most of the humans, 20% of the brain is what is used. Now it would be also like the 10% or the 20% of what humans tune into is the core of the information, and the rest is all emotional funneling coming from different layers that it's not even related to the essence of what they have to, or what we have to focus in, you know. It's like and that's how all this drama is created, instead of compressing all the energy, you know, and making a beautiful alchemical process. It can go the other way around and go into how the ancient Egyptian would say it, the waters of chaos, you know.
I'm watching it spiral as you say that. Yeah.
Removing the primordial part and just leaving the waters of chaos. But yeah.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And I believe that's part of the what the with the dragon's wisdom is about, you know. You just tune into 1% of what you're feeling. You take care of it, and then you are aware that the rest is, you know, layers and layers and layers of a construction that really is directly related to you, you know?
Yeah. So
And
on this solstice and full moon just passed, it's a perfect time to do some housework, some laundry, and really empty out everyone and everything that's not supporting the soul's journey. And to do that emptying as gracefully as possible. I wasn't too graceful when I did mine. I had to go back and pick up the pieces. But yeah, because we will consciously create the life that we came here to live.
yes, yes, and I love what you say, that everything, like, it's so there already. Uh, How I said is everything is already been given. We just need to walk our path. And you know, it's like just remembering the timelines that we choose to embody.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And well, I'm so happy that you say that you do that work, because like compressing the energy, because it's how we get to activate our plasma body, our plasma sphere. And that is like most of the technology that we are being called to use now, you know, as it different layers, like the crystal body, you know, with all the our crystic DNA and enabling it. And now it's quite related to the plasma, because the plasma is 99.99999% of what there is. So yeah.
And as I connect more to my plasma body, I become aware of the greater fluidity of consciousness.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And I also love to, speaking about flow, I believe that all these martial arts, all this dancing that more and more that are becoming more and more known and used are super important. The thing is, what are we doing to the result of that energy that we shifted? Because a lot of people is not even aware of what they are doing with that energy. They just alchemize it and then say, I feel much better. And it is. The thing is that there is a high loss of potential of that energy that you can use to materialize and create because you have already done the hard work, like going through the process of alchemizing it. So now you get to receive from the fruits of what you planted. So and that's something very important to know how to use and what to do with that energy that we alchemize. It's a
Yeah. It's a big part of the journey, where is mastering, where is our energy coming from, how we're managing it, and where do we consciously invest it?
Yes,
It sounds
yes,
really simple, but most of humanity squander energy. Grab for it, take it when they can, squander it with no realization that we can actually consciously manage it, build it, direct it, consciousness, direct energy for creation. And that's a whole nother chapter we might explore on a different day, because it's also very
yes,
connected with our sexuality, our life force energy.
exactly. Yes, yeah, if we start now, then another hour and other topic. Yeah, I mean, I'm enchanted to share with you. Yeah, it's a very extensive topic, and for me, it's very important that to keep on bringing that to to whoever is in resonance with these topics, with
Yeah.
this form of existence, because we access to higher skills, to this high tech, this ancient tech.
It is, and it's so important, the greater we reconnect, the deeper we must go in and down to restore divinity in our sexuality and connection with our life source through the physical body and planetary body. To not do so is actually unsafe for ourselves, for our clients, for our associates, and for the group field that we're journeying with. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
So that's where responsibility, the ability to respond and coming into sovereignty is vital. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is. Otherwise, how would we be able to give a proper um, uh, purpose to our gold, to our treasure? And that's what the dragon is guarding, our own treasure, our own gold. What are we going to do with it, you know? And yeah, it all comes to energy, being those superconductors, and how can be superconductors if we are not in coherence? And if we're not in coherence, it's because we are not taking care of our own yard and doing what it's needed at every scale. We can be talking about all these cosmic endeavors, yet also in order to be able to deliver those cosmic endeavors, we our body, our reality requires from a specific level of coherence in order to sustain those levels of consciousness that are interacting, you know, in order to sustain those realities.
Beautiful. So true. And there is another topic for a tea date in our cosmic across the Pacific Ring of Fire.
Sure. Yes, yes, more than please.
Thank you so much for making time and space for our meeting today, and for everyone else who will join us along the way in this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for who you are. I love you.
I love you too, and very so grateful for you, your presence, and your human remembering.
Ah. Likewise, likewise.
Much
Thank
love
you.
to you from Mama Bali, and maybe I turn my screen around so everyone can see that on the way out.
Wow. Oh, I was even going inside that wall. The pattern, the weaving of that wall, it's a portal itself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Take care, everyone. Until we meet again, love and blessings upon your journey home to self, sovereignty, and soul service.